Welcome to Will's Box Song Pod, a show where we dig deep into the songs and artists that move us and how we're moved to craft the songs we write. I'm Tim Wilsbach, and I write, release, and perform music as Wilsbach, and you can find me anywhere you stream music. Let's dig in. Just a quick program note for this week. Normally these are video episodes as well as audio, and you can find them on YouTube, my YouTube page, or you can just see them, Apple Podcasts or wherever you see video podcasts. But a little technical issue this week, so no video this week, just audio, and we'll be back with picture when we come back for next week's and beyond. My guest today is a singer-songwriter from Southern California, but his sound is much more music row than Sunset Strip. Whether you call it Americana, alt country, or singer-songwriter, his music and lyrics hold nothing back and are asking you to think a little deeper and want to stir your emotions. Throughout his career, he's opened for legendary musicians like John Waite, Don McLean, and The Temptations. His debut EP debuted at number 7 on iTunes, and in June of 24, he released a full-length album titled Somewhere Through the Trees. Welcome to Will's Box Song Pod, Mike Scully. How you doing?
Oh, I'm good, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming on and chatting with me.
That was a really nice intro, man.
I basically just kind of stole most of it from your website, but I'm intrigued by the number 7 iTunes thing for your EP. Tell me about that.
This was 2019, so 5 years ago, and back then it was like we got the pre-save link right away. Uh-huh. And so I got the pre-save link when I uploaded it onto, the distributor, TuneCore, or DistroKid, whatever I was using back then. And I just mass market sent it out to every single human I've ever come into contact with ever. Yeah. And said, hey, pre-order this. It's my debut EP, and I was just relentless with it. And then I didn't even realize iTunes had a chart. I didn't know that until the day it was released. And a buddy of mine said, hey, you're number 83 on singer-songwriters on iTunes. And I was like, really? And so I pulled it up, and I was. And then it just kept going up and kept going up and kept going up. And then I used that to kind of push it more and told everybody on the social medias. I said, hey, I'm charting on iTunes. I can't believe it, but I'm number 51 or 42. Keep buying the record. Tell your friends. Tell everybody. And then just, a big group of people through the abyss of the internet, they just all kind of bought the record. And I ended up getting all the way to number 7. Which
That's amazing. Yeah.
Who knew, man? That's
very cool.
Yeah.
People buying records in 2019. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's something in and of itself. So, and I saw you actually had CDs at your CD release party. Yeah.
I did. Yeah. I sold a lot of them too.
That's amazing. I love that. I love to hear that. I didn't do any for this run. I did a run. I also released a record in 2019. And I did a bunch of CDs where, 20 years ago I would have sold a ton. It shows,
Yeah.
But I must have I have a different audience than you, clearly, that's really not interested in the CD anymore. They're probably like me. I don't even have a place to play a CD anymore. Like in my car, nowhere in the house. I guess I have a CD-ROM drive that I would have to dig out of a drawer and connect it to the iMac. But
that was the running joke at the release party. Is that we were selling so many CDs, and I don't know where you guys are going to play these things, but I appreciate you buying them.
Yeah, right.
Regardless.
Yeah, it's almost just like they just want to support you, and they're fans, and they just want to have something to take home, and they probably had you sign it, stuff like that. But that's fun. That's great. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, it was cool.
So
really cool.
Nice. So talk about that. I listened to your recent release. But I didn't get a chance to listen to anything on the EP. So tell me about maybe pick one of your favorite songs from that EP and talk about that.
Oh man! So the EP was just a 4-song, pretty basic EP. It was one of the first times we did anything like that. Me and my drummer at the time, Rick Swigert, he's a good friend of mine. Okay. We decided we would go up to San Francisco, where my cousin is actually a producer up there, and hit his studio for the weekend and just see kind of what happened. And we got through these 4 songs, and I released it as a EP called Only the Beginning. So one of those songs, though, is titled Basketball in Heaven. So my cousin, Donald Scully, who's featured on the track, as a matter of fact, his father, my uncle, Donald, was a big basketball fan, huge basketball fan. And he loved Golden State. And he got diagnosed with adrenal cancer a while back. And he was a real big guy, and he was an Irish guy. He's a drinker and he's like the kind of guy that laughs real loud and inappropriate times and things like that. And one day when he was going through a surgery, kind of near the end of his life, everyone in the family kind of thought he was about to pass away. And we kind of all said our goodbyes. And so I sat in the garage after saying my goodbyes to my uncle, and I just started plucking around on the guitar, and I wanted to write him a song of like, how much I loved him and how much I would miss him and all that. But he would make fun of me a lot if I did that. So I made it more of a rock and roll song. And the next day he passed away.
Oh.
And I didn't tell Donald that I had written this song for his dad. I played it for him. He loved it. And then he ended up not only producing it, but singing backup on it. And it was a really great moment for kind of both of us, just as an honor to the patriarch of our family. He was the oldest living member of our family at the time. And just an all over really great guy. And he's very dearly missed in our family.
There's gonna be a lot more basketball in heaven now. There's gonna be a lot more cracking jokes and laughing too loud. There's gonna be some real deep thinking and late night drinking and winking at the other team's crowd. There's gonna be a lot more basketball in heaven now.
Since then, we had the passing of Kobe, unfortunately. That happened a little after that. Right. So we kind of double dedicated every night because we're from LA. We play in LA a lot. And even this last year at the anniversary, there's a place called 818 Brewing in Canoga Park. And they had a Kobe statue come out, and they had this whole thing for Kobe on the anniversary of his passing. They played the song, and it's become kind of its own thing. That's the beautiful thing about songs. For me, it's one thing, but to everyone that was there that night, it was all about Kobe, and that's what I love about writing songs and performing them.
Well, that's amazing too. That's a testament to you as a songwriter too, that you wrote this song, with your uncle in mind, but it's a universal enough message that it can be repurposed by, someone else that listens to it and, plug it into another situation like, a superstar Kobe passing. Yeah. So that's the mark of a good song when it's got that universal appeal. So that's really great.
Thanks, man.
So you mentioned that 4-song EP that you went up to San Francisco to record with your cousin, you said?
Yeah. Donald, my cousin.
So did you, and you brought that song along with you, yes?
I sure did, yep.
Did you have the other 3 songs, or did you find those together with him in the studio? Like, how did that work?
Okay, so 2 of them I brought along with the full intention of recording them that day. Uh-huh. One of them was about my daughter. It's called Don't Worry, Pretty Girl. And I wanted to have that as a for me, it's like songs are like placeholders in time, and I can look back on them because I've written, I don't know, 500 to 1,000 songs. I don't really even know. And most of them are just on my phone, on my notepad, right? I just hit record and play, and then I have them just kind of for me. And very few of them actually get released at this point. I think, well, with the record now, I guess I have 14 songs out, but I have thousands of them. So that was one that was about a very specific time in her life and a very specific situation in her life that I was learning how to be emotionally present for a little girl. And the way I grew up and I was a very young father, that was very difficult for me. I struggled learning that. But I was determined. And that's what this song was all about. And the big crescendo at the end is, I'm going to be there. Your love is in my blood. No matter what you ever do, I'm going to be there no matter what. And it's my promise to her. So I definitely wanted to timestamp that song. There's another one called The Alternative. And that's a song it's the only song I ever co-wrote with somebody. And he's he's a poet, but he's incredible. His name's Jason Atherton. And he had this idea of this situation of a woman in a tent, not really wanting to be there, but being there because the drugs were there. And I kind of took that a different direction, but we co-wrote this idea of the alternative. And when I'm here because it's better than the alternative. And and it just meant a lot to me. And it has aspects of my childhood in it that I just thought, why not get it out, right? So those were the two I brought. And then the other one, there was a few other options. And as we kind of like were sitting near the drum set, plucking around, one of the ones what I played was called The Old Portrait, which is kind of deals with like depression and things of that nature. And that's the one we decided to record. So that's how we got those 4.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like the way you approach songwriting is more kind of, you have a story or an idea first. So are you most of the time coming with the lyric first?
Yeah, it kind of depends. So songwriting to me is very therapeutic. It's a way of like getting things from my head onto a piece of paper and then onto sound waves that kind of reverberate metaphorically and literally away from myself. And then it's kind of hard to explain, but the alternative has a lot of things about abuse from my childhood, right? And now when I struggle with that, if I'm triggered by something, I can literally tell myself, I dealt with that, and that's out in the world now. It doesn't have to stay inside me. It's here. How I actually go about writing a song, oftentimes it starts with like a phrase or an idea, and I'll just sit down with the guitar and see if the music that I'm playing with my hands matches the words that I'm saying with my mouth. And when it does, I feel like I'll stop everything. I'll go out of work sick. When I get like that magic moment where okay, something's happening right now, I won't do anything else, and I'll obsess on it until it's completed.
So kind of just when the muse grabs a hold of you, you just you clear your schedule and everything, and just
right.
gotta indulge that creative force, whatever that is. When you get songs like that, is it kind of whenever that fugue state or whatever you call it is finished, are you're calling the song done, or do you go back and edit after that, or how do you approach that?
I don't know that I really believe in the idea of a completed song. I mean, even songs that are on the record now.
Yeah, I hear that.
Like there's certain words and phrases that I realized are so much better after I already recorded it. Yeah. So when I play it live, there are times that I'll sing it the other way because I just like it better. Yeah. Anyone can hear it how it was the day that I recorded it. And that's just kind of, to me, it's just me. So I change with the world, and sometimes the song can change too.
Yeah,
I get a little anxious when I think
it's like a snapshot, maybe.
Yeah. I get anxious with the idea of a completed song, which is why it takes me so long to release them. We've been working on this record for like 3 years, so it's been a long endeavor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, I'm the same way. There's a song that I put out on my 2019 release, and like after I recorded it and got it all out in the world, and was playing it out and realized, no, I got the chorus wrong on this. The lyric should be this way instead. So now I sing it that way. And it's better. But yeah, it's like now I kind of want to go back and re-record it and put it out again. And maybe I will someday, but maybe
like a 10-year anniversary CD.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, just because you've hit record and you've, released it into the world doesn't mean, that creative piece of art doesn't continue to evolve. It's not like a painting where when the paint dries, that's what it is. And even then, if put it in the right space or in a different frame, or maybe you hang it upside down, who knows, it still can change a little bit. So it's kind of a fun thing about what we do.
I do edit lyrics a lot. So when I actually sit down to write, when I'm actually putting paper to pen and I'm actually writing it out, that's when I'll edit it. But when I'm sitting and actually playing it and kind of figuring it out in my head, the arrangement and what it is that I want to say, I try really hard to stay out of my way. Yeah. And just don't worry about the rhyming or the structure or all that. Just get the points across that I want to get across. And then I'll end up with sometimes it could be 2 or 3 sheets of just stuff. Then I'll take it and say, go syllable by syllable almost. Right. And ask myself, can I say this better? Or can I say this in a more creative way that's never been said that way before? I don't want to necessarily be cliche. The Old Portrait there's a lot of that in there. There's a lot of cliche ideas, but I'm trying to say it in a new way. And that was kind of the idea, and off rhymes, and that was kind of the idea when I was writing that song, just kind of experimenting. But Yeah, so I do edit, and I try to. It's like a puzzle. I try to get every syllable exactly right, and I kind of obsess about it.
Yeah. Where did you learn your craft? I mean, have you just all self-taught, or do you have any training, or do you have a Bob Dylan, in your life that you kind of have been chasing, or that, like, where have you learned your craft is the question, I guess.
Just by listening to songwriters. Yeah. Dylan definitely being one of them. Ray LaMontagne. I'm a big Ray LaMontagne fan. I love Jason Isbell. I love Sturgill Simpson. We play them a lot at our shows in between the original songs, and even more mainstream guys like Chris Stapleton. And I just went to the Luke Combs concert in SoFi. That boy can write songs.
Yeah, man. He's got that
I didn't realize.
Down. Yeah, for sure. I don't know his whole catalog, but there was a time a few years ago where I'm like, I'm gonna write a country hit, and I did a lot of studying and like listened to a lot of stuff, and he's got that pop hit country vibe down, and he can write a lyric and tell a story, and it's fun, and it's got the sing along vibe to it. Yeah, I'm impressed with him. I'm not one of these people that like, I don't hate on modern country, but I can only listen to it so much before I get to my like satiation point, and then I have to move on to something else. But
I'm not a huge modern country fan. My fiance is very much a modern country fan, so we listen to a lot of modern country in the car and at home. I'm a bit more, I guess, I don't know, Americana, alternative country, folk, whatever people want to call it.
Right. Yeah, a little something just with a little more lyrical depth. Your Chris Stapletons, obviously your Jason Isbell's, like, he's got some amazing song. Cast Iron Skillet, like, come on, get out of here.
Yeah, I did a cover of that one.
So let's talk about the new record. It's called Somewhere Through the Trees. Mm-hmm. You've released 3 singles: Multiverse, Golden Road, and Exit Sign. Before I know the whole record is out, but so I'm assuming those 3 are kind of special to a degree on the record. So the first one was Multiverse.
Well, so Multiverse was it was me. I like astronomy a lot, and I love like Brian Cox and Neil deGrasse Tyson and all these like astrophysicists, and I love learning about that sort of stuff, and I'm very interested in it. And I was listening to a talk, and I always get his name wrong, but his name is Michio something. He's a Japanese astrophysicist, and he's really awesome. I love the guy. But he was talking about multiverses and all that kind of stuff, and I was going through kind of a breakup, and I'm dramatic, so I was outside looking up at the stars, thinking about my life and all that, and just strumming my guitar. And the idea kind of came to me that the idea of the multiverse is that anything that could happen ever, any infinite amount of combinations that could happen with all the atoms in this universe, is happening somewhere in some multiverse. There's an infinite amount of multiverses where every choice is made, and now they're even talking about if you make a choice, you're basically splitting off another universe, which is all too complicated for me to understand, but the basics of it I got. So the idea was that at that moment, all I really wanted was to be with the woman I loved, right? And I wasn't. I was alone. And the idea kind of struck me that maybe somewhere out there in the multiverse, I am, in this moment, laying with the woman that I love. And so I wrote from that perspective, and that's how Multiverse came to be. And that tends to be the crowd favorite from my perspective on the stage. People tend to like that one a lot. And so I released that one first because I just wanted to lead with my best foot and see how it went.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. That reminds me, there's I have a favorite poem one of my favorite poems. It's called "I Go Back to the House for a Book" by Billy Collins. And I'll send you a copy. I'm not going to read it in here, but it's basically kind of a story about that. Like this guy leaves his house to go to a doctor's appointment, and then he's like, "Oh, but wait, I forgot to bring something to read." So he goes back to the house to grab a book to read in the doctor's office, and the whole rest of it is him kind of pontificating, like, will I ever catch up to that person that's just perpetually 3 minutes ahead of me? I don't know. There's just something beautiful about that, but it's kind of that same basic idea that you're saying in Multiverse.
Right.
There.
A lot of these songs are 5 years old.
Yeah, right.
You know, they're old songs, and they're kind of all from different points. But I wanted to write something that none of the people that come to my shows has ever heard for the record, and I wanted to close the record out with where I'm at now. I kind of struggled with, and I know it probably sounds pretentious, and I hope it doesn't, but I struggle with feeling inauthentic releasing these songs now, because I don't feel that way. I'm engaged to the most beautiful woman I've ever met. I'm so excited about marrying her. I don't feel like there's love out there for me. I'm here now. Give Me a Train has a lot of fear about the music industry, you know, and I've kind of passed that. I did the whole signing and having a management and all that, and I kind of moved on from that. And so there's a lot of like things that I just don't feel relevant in my life anymore. So Exit Sign was a specific song that I sat down to write to close out the record. Uh-huh. And I also used to play solo a lot. And for like 2 or 3 years, it was just me and a guitar on a stage. And I also wanted to kind of give an ode to that. So we decided to record it live with any mistake I make. We did it in, I think we did two or three takes maybe, because we had some pops. We had to redo it. But whatever mistake happened, I was just going to leave it. I was going to practice the art of not being a perfectionist, which I'm very bad at.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And Exit Sign, it's more of where I'm at now than any other song. It's the last few lines are like, I've strengthened my shoulders and I've grown a lot older and I can carry you now.
Yeah.
But if you don't need me to carry you, let me just go with you. Let me just be with you. As a teenager and as a young man, I struggle with feeling responsible for other people in my life, and it brought a lot of burden and struggles for me. And this song is more of, hey, I don't need to do that anymore, but I can go on my own, but I'd love it if you just went with me as well.
They say life is often wasted on the young. It's hard to understand a thing when living's all you've done. But I'm quite a few years older, and I've strengthened both my shoulders, so I can carry you to the sun. And if you don't require help with getting this thing done, can I walk with you to the sun?
Okay, and then your next single was Golden Road, and if I remember correctly, I think I'm assuming that's your daughter that's singing on that with you. That's super cool. Yeah, so tell me about that one.
So Golden Road, it's Emily Scully. She's my daughter, and she sings backup on it. And
how old is your daughter?
17.
Okay, gotcha. All right, nice.
She's awesome. I mean, I heard recently from some TED Talk or something. I forget exactly. I kind of put stuff on and drive in my car. But I heard recently someone say that if you raise your children right, they're going to be your best friends in the world. You're never going to want them to leave, right? And I just so feel that way about my daughter. She's just so cool. She plays guitar, she sings, but besides that, she's just a fun hang. She's just awesome to hang out with. And but this particular song, Golden Road, is actually the idea of the entire record. So Somewhere Through the Trees is the paraphrased version of the second line of that song. So the song is, there's a golden road somewhere through the trees. In the song is somewhere through these trees, but I felt like for a record, somewhere through the trees sounded better. But her mother and I, who we're good friends now and good co-parents, but we are divorced. And at the beginning of that divorce, obviously there was a lot of pain and a lot of struggle and a lot of heartache and a lot of big emotions that I didn't know what to do with and I was not well equipped for. But luckily I had really good friends that taught me a lot and kind of walked me through it. And I love to drive and I love to travel and I love to see things that I've never seen before. So a friend of mine, her name's Cambria, also a huge supporter, also one of my biggest supporters. She's good people, but she told me just to drive north, and if I can get all the way to Canby, which is near Portland. We had a mutual friend named Kevin who lived there, and I could stay at his house for a couple days. So that's what I did. I drove as far north as I could. I had like 5 days off work, and I didn't have the kids, which was new to me, and I really had a hard time not being around the kids all the time. And I drove up north. I stopped and saw my cousin Donald, who I did the first record with, and then or the EP. And then I got all the way up to Canby. We went to Portland, and on the way back, I think I was in a town. I don't think it was actually Oregon. It was either on like, what's it called, Asheville or something like that. And I think it's like Weed, California, near there too. Like it's like right near the top, if I'm remembering correctly. It's been a while. But I kind of pulled the car over, and I was really struggling with this whole, divorce thing. Yeah. And I grabbed my guitar and I went into the forest, because why not? And I sat, and it was like 11 a.m., but it was dark because the forest is so thick that sunlight doesn't really get through, right? So it looks like it's like dusk, but it's 11 a.m. in the morning. And I'm looking around at all the leaves, and I'm thinking in my head that this immense pain that I'm feeling is like right here, and I'm trying to quantify it, right? It's like probably right here in like the pit of my stomach, or the top part of my stomach below my chest. And if I could just pull it out, it's probably like this big. And then I saw this to the relative size of one of those freaking redwood leaves, right?
Yeah.
One of those leaves is like 4 times that size. And then I looked around at this huge forest I was in with so many of those leaves, and a little perspective kind of crept into my brain. Was that maybe I can deal with this, right? It's not maybe as big as I'm thinking it is. Not that it wasn't painful and big, but sometimes those weird, out of the box thoughts help me cope with my life. And so Golden Road, I literally sat on a rock in that forest, and I just strummed that, C, D, E minor, G, and came up with this idea that I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what I was looking for. I knew that I wanted what I had. I wish I could go back to where I was, but I knew at this point that wasn't a possibility. So I had to forge my own path going forward. And if I did it right, and I kept people like Cambria, who I mentioned, or Brian, and I kept them close to me in my life, I knew I could repave that golden road with my own 2 hands. And maybe I didn't need someone else to have that. So that's kind of the idea, is searching for the point of searching, and realizing that you're right here. You don't need to look anymore.
I mean, it's like the metaphor that you're talking about is, not everybody can see the video, but you were kind of, doing a circle through your chest, and you kind of pulled out this little, your pain, and you can almost feel it. Mm-hmm. And you kind of took that as a piece of clay and molded it into the song, and kind of just, that's part of letting it go and figuring out how to take that first step and the next step and the next step. And then when did you decide to bring your daughter into the production of that?
We always wanted to do a song together, because she's such a great singer, and we play guitar and sing a lot, and we tried Golden Road, and it just worked out perfect.
That's
it was
great.
It was really cool experience.
There's no wants and there's no needs. There's no star-filled skies. There's no sun-soaked days. There is only you and me.
Yeah, what a fun, record of you have that moment in time that you've shared with your daughter. That's super fun.
Right.
My 15-year-old is a drummer, and I'm going to get him on a track one of these days. We haven't done it yet, but and then my daughter is she's only 9, but she's not quite ready yet, but she'll definitely be there at some point. So yeah, that's what a special thing to be able to bring your kids into the fold. That's super cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna get my son a drum kit. That's the next thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I maybe pushed that a little bit when he was little, because I'm kind of like I used to play with a guy back in the day, and he always told me I had back of the stage envy, because I always, any chance I got, I would sit, behind the drums, and
Right.
I'm not a good drummer, but I can keep a beat.
I'm about the
So
same way. I think all my drummers would say I like to play around with it and just try because it's fun. Yeah.
I remember like when I grew up in fifth grade was when you got to pick when you broke out for bands. So I got to pick, what, and we, you go to this big assembly in the auditorium, and they've got all the stuff, and they test it, and you get to pick, but you don't really get to pick because your parents are there.
Well, it's so funny you say that, because this last year was my son's first year in band, and I told him, I'm like, percussion. Just do percussion. Just trust me, do percussion. He's like, okay, I'm going to do percussion. I'm going to do drums. It's going to be great, blah, blah, blah. And he comes home and he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to do percussion. But the instructor said not a lot of people like trombone, and we need a trombone. And I'm like, I don't care what your instructor said. Do percussion, right? And the next day he came home with a trombone. So he's really great at trombone, but the instructor tricked him into it.
Yeah, that's funny.
He loves it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was similar, only the opposite. I wanted to play the drums, and my parents were like, no.
Yeah.
how about the clarinet? I'm like, I'm not playing the clarinet. So we decided on the saxophone. That was the compromise.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. So I played the saxophone until I was 14 when I picked up the guitar. And we had another contract with my folks. Okay, you can get the guitar, but you have to play your saxophone for an hour a day. And I did that for maybe a week, and then I regret it now. I would love to still play the saxophone, but I let that kind of go by the wayside. But
the guitar is a hard thing to compete against, man. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful instrument.
All right, so you just finished the record. Are we in a period of creative pause? Are you recharging? Are you got something that you're working on next? Like what's filling you up lately?
Yeah, so right now we just released the record. So our plan is to perform it as much as humanly possible in front of as many people as we possibly can for the next little while. We got shows lined up the next few weekends, some solo, some acoustic, some full band, kind of a good mix of all those things. As much as I can with having the kids and the job and all that.
Yeah, right.
But I have, I believe I've kind of narrowed it down to these next 10 songs. One song that didn't make it onto the record, which really bummed me out, it's called Tomorrow. We play it live all the time. So it bummed me out that it didn't make the record, unfortunately. The recording that we did on our own in the garage didn't work out. A lot of this record was recorded in Nashville. At an actual studio, but a couple of them we wanted to add on afterwards. So we kind of tried it ourselves, and this one just didn't work out sound-wise. So that will be released, and I believe what we're going to do is record that as a single, send it out, do one more single, and then I have an idea for an EP, which is more of a concept EP. That's the next thing I'm really focusing on, which will be a 5-song EP with every song connecting, every song the same story, different melodically, and also with a little bit of an Irish sound.
And it looks like the record you just released is getting some spins. I think I saw some social media posts about 5,000 and up. That's amazing.
Yeah,
super glad to hear that.
Yeah, thank you. And since the release party, it's only increased, which is really cool. It's not about really making money. You don't get a whole lot of money from the streams, and
right. Yeah.
I actually split it with the band, so I think we've made like $10 or something. But it's cool that it's part of other people's lives now. I get messages from all over of people saying, this song was you knew me. How did you know when you wrote the song?
Right.
That's just like, it makes me feel less alone, like I said in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, like you've said, you've dialed into, this authentic piece, and you're telling authentic stories, and that's always going to connect. And that's always the trick, right? It's like, figuring out how to be as authentic as you can without, it's as authentic as you can, basically.
Yep.
Sometimes you can't, or at least I can't. Sometimes you can't go there. But when you can get there, you're usually not alone. There's other people out there, and that's what connects with a lot
You know
of
what
stuff.
I've been playing with a little bit is the idea of being as genuine and honest as you can in a song is always where I'm at in my head. I'm always trying to be honest, and I'll take things out if they're not honest. But Jason Isbell, he talks about the idea that if it's honest, it has to go into a song. So he will not remove things even if it makes him look bad.
Yeah.
Because it's true and it's real, and that's how he approaches his art. So I've been playing around with that idea quite a bit, and not that most of my songs paint me in a great light. I mean, some of them are pretty dark, suicide ideation and stuff like that, and prior addictions and things. But there are some things that I can definitely write about, and I definitely do, that I would probably never admit to, and I so respect his commitment to his craft, and I feel like that's kind of like my next thing that I'm trying to convince myself to be brave enough to go down that road.
Yeah, and that's what it is too. It's being brave. It's having that.
Yeah.
You're finding that second level of like, okay, I'm gonna let go of this fear, this insecurity, and just cut it to the bone. And here it is. Here I am.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, it's been about a pleasure talking to you. I've enjoyed listening to the record. Your voice sounds amazing, which I don't think we've talked about yet. You're a fantastic singer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I work really hard at it.
Yeah. Have you done any like training, or are you just kind of naturally gifted, or how does that work?
I was in choir in middle school and high school, so I understand the actual aspects of using your, not singing from your throat, using your chest and all that, and your stomach. And
my choir teacher used to say, "Gut and butt."
Gut and butt. Yep. We got that a lot. Breathing techniques and all that kind of stuff. So I have an app though that Arnold McCuller, I believe is his name. He was the backup singer for James Taylor. And he can sing, man. He's phenomenal. And he has an app called Vocal Ease, and I use it quite often, especially before every gig. I do his warm-ups, and it's that's kind of how I keep but I drink a lot of water. Drink a lot of water. I try to limit really hot things or really cold things. I try to do room temperature, just, things like that.
Yeah.
Right now I happen to be sick. My chest is really congested, but normally my voice is pretty, baritone-y.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, thanks for coming on. Much appreciated. And this has been a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, man.
Thanks for listening to Wilsbach's Song Pod. If you've made it this far, please rate, review, like, love, add, subscribe, do all the things on whatever app it is that you're hearing my voice. That lets the almighty algorithm know that interesting people like you like this show, and will serve it up to other cool and interesting people. Wilsbach's Song Pod is produced by Wilsbach Entertainment, LLC. Mixed, mastered, and edited by me, Tim Wilsbach. See you next time.